Welcome back, free athletes, to another Freeletics Q&A session. My name is Kian, and today I'm very happy to introduce a new face to the Freeletics family, Jens Hofer, Head of Performance for the leading esport team, Fnatic. In today's interview, we'll learn more about what it takes to be an esport player and the relationship between fitness and esport. So let's kick this session off. All right, Jens, so thank you for being here again. Let's start with the first question, and let me ask you, who are you, what is your background, and all of us want to know, what is Fnatic really about?
All right, hey Kian, thank you for having me. My name is Jens, I'm 41 years old, I'm born in Sweden. My background is actually originally from sports, more specifically from basketball. I used to play basketball. I played a bit in Europe, in the United States, and played at a lower professional level in Europe as well. And then I sort of moved into coaching, but I quite soon noticed my passion for the mental side of the game was bigger than the coaching part. And I also, as a player, had quite a few issues with the mental part and felt like I never got enough help to really achieve my full potential on my journey. So that sort of became a passionate goal of mine, to start helping players to really get that help at a younger level. So that's how I became a mental coach, basically. And then from then on, I started to look for different opportunities. I started working with basketball teams, football teams, but also sort of out of more curiosity, started reaching out to esports organizations.
What does an average day look like for an esport player? Like, do they practice 8 hours a day and then they have a few tournaments a year? Or like, I have no idea, right? But like, perhaps you can talk me more about that. I would be super interested to know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's quite different from game to game. There are some games like the Counter-Strike game, which is tournament based, so to speak. So pre-COVID, they would be traveling around all over the world and just enter different tournaments. But if you look at a game like the League of Legends, which has like a set season, and they're based in Berlin, and all the teams are based in Berlin, so they basically go into the studio and play a set season, and then goes into playoffs, and then it goes into Worlds. But if we look at a team like CSGO, once we're at a tournament, we really want to look at how can we have consistency in what we're doing, and how can we make sure from day one until the very last day, where we're hopefully are in the semifinals or finals, how can we make sure that they're physically still fit at the end of the tournament, that they're mentally still there where they have the energy to perform. So that's why we really look at the different aspects of the day. So a typical day at a tournament would maybe be like, we wake up, we have a meeting together, and then we would actually go and have physical training together. And physical training for us is not like a pro athlete within a regular sports, right?
I would assume so, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be at that level, but what we try to incorporate is some cardio, some strengthening, and actually some mobility exercises as well. So a typical training session would be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes on a tournament day. And we try to have physical training every other day, which we found has been quite well and worked quite well for our players.
You mean during the tournament, right? Every other day during a 1 week and a half tournament? Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And then once we've done the training, we would typically go eat something together. And this is where I become the bad guy, because I actually choose what they eat and what they can't eat.
How do they feel about this?
That's sort of been like a step-by-step process where they've gotten used to that. I think the worst thing is that we ruled out any sort of sugar. We have the no sugar rule, which is, makes me the bad daddy, right? But that's basically, the no sugar rules basically came in because we don't want to have those spikes, what happens with the sugar, and then where it really makes those, great dips as well. And again, we're trying to make things as consistent as possible. So when it comes to food, we're basically looking at, having slow carbs, lean proteins, and veggies to make them actually last throughout the day. And we also look at the timing. How's the day going to look like? When are they actually going to play the game? And a lot of times also, how long is the game going to last for? So we try to have snacks and have the meals sort of timed out in the best way possible.
And for Counter-Strike, for instance, like during a day, if they train in the morning, they eat breakfast with you afterwards, do they then play like for 4 or 5 hours straight, or the rounds are a bit shorter? Or
I mean, we can go back to the day. So we've had the physical training. We're at the point we've eaten together, and they usually get a bit of a rest, and then we would have a team session. And we would usually start with the mental team session, would be something that I hold. And then we would probably talk about communication. How are we best going to be able to reset, handle frustration, handle pressure in an arena situation, and so on.
Okay.
And then, if there is the need, I would have individual session with certain players, maybe younger players that aren't as used to the environment and maybe need a little bit of extra work. And then they actually go into doing some individual playing. And that's more for a warm-up, just sort of like keeping things going, where they would have like a light, maybe hour session where they just sit down and play by themselves. And then we would probably go eat again to make sure that they, stay balanced with that.
Yeah.
And then actually what we sort of incorporated as well is taking short walks before we actually go into the games. That's something that we noticed actually really works really well. We go as a team, we take maybe just a 15-minute walk. They get to be outside a bit. We get to talk a little bit, and they just get to move a little bit. And then we go into the last team session before the game, which would be in CSGO, which would be our head coach actually going through the tactical things, in-game stuff. And then, they jump into the game. And a Counter-Strike game can last anywhere between 3 to 5 hours, depending how many rounds they play and if there's overtime and so on. So it lasts for quite a long time.
Oh, I guess yes. So that's already like a whole day right there, from morning to evening, basically, with all the different sessions and the preparation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into a day that I think people don't understand. I mean, it is a very professional environment where there are different aspects to it that we're trying to work into it. And also, I mean, after the game, we always have a feedback session. And that's something I think maybe, where we go through, okay, which are areas of improvements, which are things that we actually want to build on that work well, and so on. But they're quite long and intense days, which is, again, that's also why the mental training, the physical training, and the nutrition is so important to us. If we want to stay consistent and not burn out within a few days in the tournament, we have to make sure that all those aspects actually, round up in a good way for the players.
This was going to be one of my next questions. So what is the role of physical and mental training? So you alluded to the fact that they need to be mentally strong enough to sustain such a high pressure environment that the arena is when there's a tournament. And also, I mean, like, if you do that back to back every day for a week and a half, you have to be physically endurant also to sustain that, right? So how did that come about in esport, physical and mental training? Is this something completely new? Was the culture completely different before? Can you speak a little bit about that, please, Jens?
Yeah, I mean, it is still fairly new. I would say a lot of teams have caught on to having maybe a mental coach on site and doing some physical training, but I would say overall, most teams probably still don't do it.
Okay.
And looking way back, a few years back when I came into, I think most teams probably focus mainly on the game itself. So the training and the focus and how they actually structure things in the days is mainly around the game itself. So they would probably do some preparation around tactics in-game. They would actually focus on individual play in-game, and then they would actually do practice around that, and then they would play.
Okay.
Whereas now, obviously the main aspect is still in-game because that's what they have to work on the most.
For sure, yeah.
But when it comes to, again, longevity, consistency, and actually having the ability to stay focused and actually, get the most out of yourself in competitive games, you have to consider things like mental training and physical training, because it gives you the ability to be there and actually get that, 100% out of yourself.
You're a mental coach for Fnatic, but you're also the head of the high performance unit at Fnatic. Can you explain us what is the high performance unit? What is its vision? Where it is right now, and where are you guys aiming to be in the next few years to come?
Yeah, actually that's a great question, because the high performance unit that we're trying to build is going to be quite an integral part of Fnatic. So what we're trying to do is build a central department that is dedicated towards performance and actually filters down to all of our teams. So what we realized quite quickly when starting to work with a few of our teams with the performance structure is that it actually gives results right away, and it actually helps our players perform in a better way. So what we're looking to do now is to create a central department where we have experts within all of these key performance areas, such as nutrition, physical training, sleep, but also the technology behind it, also youth development, and doing research projects as well. So we want to have all those, experts, sort of collected centrally, and then we want that knowledge to filter down to all of our teams. Where we then on site want to have performance coaches like I used to be, who can then take that knowledge and actually create that structure around each team. So in essence, we want to have a stable performance structure around all of our teams in the future.
So that's it for today. And if you're as surprised as me about the relationship between mental preparation, fitness, and esport, then stay tuned. We have a whole part 2 coming up soon.